All right, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be looking at the urogenital anatomy for the male and female. First, we're going to look at the urinary system or the urinary anatomy for the female. And again, like many of our other videos, this is going to be a quiz style video, so I'll point out some structures. You can pause the video, name the structure, and then we'll come back and go through them all together. So starting with the urinary anatomy, like I said, we're going to start with this structure right here, which will be number 1. Number 2 will be this structure right here. Number 3 is going to be these tubes right here on both sides. And then number 4 will be this structure right here. And then number 5 will be this tube right here, this anterior tube. That'll be number 5. All right, so pause the video, name the structures, and then we'll come back and do them together. Okay, so number 1 is going to be your adrenal glands. You have 2 of them, and they sit right on top of this next structure here, which will be your kidneys. And then the next structure is going to be these 2 tubes here, which are your ureters. And then the ureters are going to then connect to this next structure here, which will be the bladder. And then the bladder is then going to connect to this final structure here, which is your urethra. And so if we're looking at the elimination of urine, first, your blood is going to come through and pass through the kidney, where it will get filtered, and then your urine will be created from all that filtered blood, and it will travel from the kidney down through the ureter, which will empty into the bladder. And then when it's time for elimination of that urine, the urine will then pass through the urethra and then out through this small hole here, which is your urethral orifice. So that is the urinary anatomy for the female. And so now we will move on to the reproductive anatomy. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the reproductive anatomy. First, we are going to start with this structure here, which will be number 1. Next structure will be this tube right here, which is number 2. Number 3 will be this structure here. Number 4 is going to be this area right here. And then number 5 will be this structure. And then there will be 2 more structures to look at, but we'll have to get a different angle. So first, let's start with number 1. So number 1 is going to be your ovaries. And again, it's symmetrical on both sides. So you have 2 ovaries, one on this side, one on the other side. It's just been removed so that we can see the inside of this structure and identify some other structures here. So then number 2 will be your fallopian tubes. And then number 3 is going to be the uterus. And number 4 will be the cervix. And then number 5 is going to be the vagina. All right, so now let's get a different angle here real quick. Ooh. Looking more inferiorly. And so the 2 landmarks we're going to look at here are going to be this right here. We'll call that number 1. And then this next one, number 2. So number 1 is going to be your labia majora. And then number 2 will be your labia minora. And that's that. So that is the reproductive and urinary anatomy for the female. So now we will take a look at the male anatomy. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the reproductive and urinary anatomy of the male. So first we'll start with the urinary anatomy. So we'll go through this one relatively quickly, as the male and female are relatively similar. So number 1 will be up here again. Number 2 will be right here. Number 3 right here. Number 4 will be that structure there. And then number 5 is going to be all along through here. Number 5. All right, so number 1 again is the adrenal glands. Number 2, kidney. Number 3 is your ureters. Number 4 will be the bladder. And then number 5 will be your urethra. So again, very similar to the female anatomy, just a little different. As you can see, the urethra is relatively, it's much longer on the male anatomy. But yeah, so that's it. And now we'll take a look at the reproductive anatomy. All right, so now we'll take a look at the male reproductive anatomy. So here we have a slightly posterior view, just so you know, so you can get your bearings here. So first we will start with this structure here. Oop. See if I can get my pencil out here. Here we go. First we'll start with this structure here, which would be number 1. Then number 2 will be right here. Then number 3 will be this structure here. Then number 4 will be this structure right here. Then number 5 will be this structure here. Then number 6 will be these small structures right here. And then number 7 will be this canal right here. So that'll be number 7. Oh, number 7. And then number 8 will be this structure here. And then number 9 is going to be this covering that has a little cross section here. This covering on the outside there will be number 9. And then this covering here, which is also a cross section, will be number 10. All right, so pause the video, mark up what you can, and then we'll come and do that together. All right, so starting with number 1, these are going to be your testicles or testes. And then number 2 is going to be the epididymis. Number 3 is going to be your vas deferens. And the vas deferens, along with some blood vessels, are going to make up your spermatic cord. So this kind of represents both of those. Number 4 is going to be your, one second here. All right, so my mistake. Number 4 is actually a structure that you don't need to know. It's actually called the seminal vesicles, if you're curious, but you don't need to know those. My mistake. Number 5 is going to be the prostate. So here we have a cross section of that. That'll be your prostate. Number 6, these small, tiny little round structures here, these are going to be your bulbourethral glands. So that's number 6, bulbourethral glands. And then number 7 is going to be your urethra, as we talked about before, or it can now be known in the male anatomy as the urogenital canal. So UGC for urogenital canal. And the reason it has this different name is that not only is the urethra here, or the urogenital canal, used to eliminate urine, but it is also used during ejaculation of semen. So that's number 7. Number 8 will be the glands. And number 9 is going to be this covering here of skin, which is going to be the prepuce, or you can call it the foreskin. And then number 10, finally, this is going to be your scrotum. And that is the reproductive anatomy of the male. So those are most of the structures that you will need to know in terms of the urinary and reproductive anatomy for the male and female. There are some structures on the list that cannot be seen on visible body. So if you can, maybe Google those, just so you know what you're looking for when it comes to the practical. All right, so that's it for this video. Good luck studying, and if you have any questions, feel free to email any of the TAs or professors, and we'll be happy to help. All right, I'll see you next time.